Hello and welcome to Panorama's webinar with Ramco ERP to discuss how logistics service providers can manage today's challenges. I'm Dave Carey, the Director of Industry Relations at Panorama, and today we'll be joined by Naval Sabharwal, Ramco ERP's Head of Global Logistics and Supply Chain. In appreciation for you tuning into today's discussion, Panorama is providing a complimentary one-hour consulting session to the first 3 respondents at the conclusion of the webinar. Stay tuned for details as we wrap up later. Before we turn it over to Naval, just a bit about Panorama. We are an independent niche consulting company that specializes in helping clients plan for and achieve success through the development and implementation of business system strategies. Panorama does not sell any software. We do not staff consultants specific to any particular software, nor do we receive any incentive or compensation from any technology vendor. Our goal is purely to help our clients down the path of developing successful strategies that allow them to operate more efficiently, effectively, and profitably. Panorama is well known for its ERP selection services, as well as our ability to help clients in other areas, such as business process management, digital strategy assessment, organizational change management, and ERP expert witness, just to name a few. We're also able to provide these services for businesses in a wide range of industries, including but not limited to manufacturing, retail, government and financial services, agricultural, and several other areas. For more information on Panorama's offerings, visit our website. Panorama's approach to preparing our clients for the selection and implementation journey begins with educating organizations that new software alone is not a solution. Companies benefit from understanding that it's imperative that their people and processes are in alignment, and that, in conjunction with modern software with the right capabilities, is what can lead to a successful implementation project and a better future state. Here you see just a small sampling of some of Panorama's clients, and certainly some very recognizable names on this. Again, today we'll be hearing from Naval Sabharwal at Ramco ERP. Ramco ERP is part of the Ramco Group, which has over 14,000 employees and over $1 billion in revenue. Ramco's ERP software is suitable for many industries, a couple of note being cement, building materials, and the topic of today's discussion, logistics services. The ERP team has over 1,900 folks in 24 worldwide offices. In addition to Gartner recognition, also note that Ramco ERP has secured 12 patents over the last 10 years for enterprise applications due to their innovative approach to product development in things such as frictionless UI, zero UI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Turning to today's topic, and particularly in light of events over the past year or so, the challenge of continuing to satisfy consumer demand while facing supply shortages, limited resources, higher operational costs. Today's successful logistics service providers have now, more than ever, needed to focus on that technology piece to gain a competitive edge. I'd like to ask Naval Sabharwal, CEO of Ramco Logistics, to share with us how technology plays such a key role for logistics service providers in defining their future and better meeting these challenges. Naval, hello and welcome, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Dave, for setting the tone and the context. And hello, everyone. I am Naval Sabharwal, and I'm going to speak on what logistics companies need to do to survive. While we use the word survive, it is actually exciting times and challenging times that beacon the logistics companies for the future. So digital transformation and technology is what logistics companies need to invest in for the future. Now let's look at what the future is going to look like for logistics companies and what's there in the horizon. The outsourcing industry is going to increase. There is going to be less and less investment from the shippers into the logistics services, and they're going to depend on logistics service providers more and more. The logistics service providers would need to be serving their customers with personalized solutions. Solutions that are smart and empowered, solutions that are tailored, and even within companies, within their customers, they would look for personalized solutions. So let's look at an example what an e-commerce company would look like. It would say that I have different categories to be served, and each category needs to be served differently. And the logistics service provider would be expected to be able to provide that not just a tailored solution, but personalized solution to serve the e-commerce company. The second aspect is that logistics companies will invest less and less in assets. So what does this mean for the future? It means that the assets and capacities would need to be sourced from the open market, and they would be scattered. That this is an industry where the capacity is scattered across numerous players. The ability of a logistics service provider to tap the resources at a cost that is affordable and join them to orchestra a service is going to decide whether a logistics service provider will get the competitive edge over his competitors. The business models that are going to emerge are going to be dynamic. All manufacturers, retailers are experimenting with different supply chain models. Look at what COVID did. It actually made a lot of manufacturers, retailers, and distributors rejig their supply chain operations. And as they face more challenges and customer demands, this is going to be dynamic in the ongoing days. Unless a logistics service provider is adaptable to this constant change, it will be difficult for them to survive and grow for their shippers. The other change that is going to come, which will primarily be driven by technology, is that the routine stuff will be left to machines. Not just routine stuff, even base intelligence will be left to machines. At least in the next 10 years, all the routine stuff in base intelligence will be done by machines. And it is designing the intelligence that will be left with the human beings. So the organization has to be ready for this. As Dave rightly pointed out, it's not just about this of technology, it's also about people who are involved in the transformation. And all your customers for logistics companies would expect not just visibility. Visibility has been the game for the last 2-3 decades, but now the expectation is intelligent visibility. Don't tell me I'm late. Preempt that I am late. Even real-time visibility is not enough because I'm expected to react before it happens. And let's say if something goes wrong, supply chains, things do go wrong in it, then the system or the logistics company should be able to give intelligent choices instantly to mitigate the risks and reduce the damage that is caused to the supply chain. Now, this is what the future that a logistics service provider has to be prepared for. Now, there are 3 tenets that logistics companies have to be prepared for in the future. The first, people, the most important part. The people who are now handling routine operations, the people who are now involved in execution, would now have to be having a different set of skills in terms of their thinking processes, the leaderships and technology usage, the stress tolerances, the flexibility, and also the ability for multi-level collaboration. The second tenet is a platform. What is a platform as against the current applications that are there in use by most of the logistics service providers? A platform is an integrated single source of truth, which is highly configurable and allows you to use artificial intelligence and machine learning much more effectively. It's a platform that you can modify, change on the fly to be able to serve dynamic business models and configure it for the personalization needs of your customers. Now, having a platform is not enough. you need a technology partner who's invested into the logistics industry, not just any technology partner. A technology partner who collaborates with you and grows along with you. A technology partner who understands what you need and is responsive to your needs in the whole thing. A partner who's constantly innovating and adopting new technology and keeping you ahead of others. So it is these 3 P's that the tenants that logistics companies have to follow for success and survival in the future. Now, what is important is, is digital transformation just about technology? No, it's not about it. It's about getting certain laws right. And it's getting the culture right, getting your people aligned. So based on our experience of doing multiple implementations of the platform across different logistics companies globally, we find we've built up some laws, which I'd like to share with you. So the first law is law of digitalization, which envisages that all transactions and events should be captured digitally. Human intervention and capture of data needs to be reduced. The second law is intelligent systems. That is, through a platform, you make the information available to everyone and give them the capability from the system to predict and provide them options so that they can make use of those options and take the best decision. The human being is going nowhere because he is going to take the decisions based on the options. And the interesting part is, it is those decisions that human beings take is what the system learns and then applies them back in the future based on the results that were achieved based on the decision taken. The next law of digital transformation is that digitalization is supporting functions and automation of the core functions and not ancillary functions. So you need to be digitalizing your core operations of transportation and warehousing so that you get results out of digital transformation. The most important part of digital assets is your digital assets, that's your data. And as you accumulate more and more data, you're becoming that much more richer. And I'll show you certain live examples on how data accumulated is actually worth its value in gold. And that is why having a platform that stores all your data to be used for artificial intelligence and machine learning is very critical for a logistics company. The law of digital capacity. The capacity to change is inversely proportional to the amount of broken legacy systems that you carry. So moving to a platform is very, very critical for a logistics company to be able to survive in the future. The sixth law is the law of customer intimacy. It is how separated or how close are you to your customer. Digitalization allows you to get as close to the customer as possible. Actually so close that you can actually make your customer do a part of your operations. A lot of successful companies have actually literally outsourced order entries back to the customer, invoice settlement back to their customers. So you get as close and intimate to your customers. Then comes of the culture that you need to build, where you empower people for digital transformation. And I spoke about earlier on what kind of skill sets that you need to develop in the organization. So either you reskill or get in talent from outside and create the right mix. And a lot of successful companies in logistics who have done that have actually reskilled majority of the people. So there is scope for reskilling your existing resources to align to the culture. And unless the digital transformation is driven right from the top and the CEO in his every action is not putting out the message that this is a disruptive process, we will go through this challenge, we'll go through this change, it will become as another initiative which is not successful. So these are some laws that we have learned actually practically while doing digital transformation with some of our clients globally. Now let's understand, what is digital? It's not some magic potion that you just put it in and some magic starts happening. It's a journey. And it's a journey that encompasses 4 different pillars. The first is your automation. Can I reduce my manual tasks? Can I ensure my data is only entered once? Am I able to ensure that my system, the technology performs all the business, statutory, and error validation that I need for my business? And does it improve my visibility? So you have passed one pillar of your digital journey if you achieve this. The second is on optimization. Do I have technology that can optimize my resources internally and externally? I told you about low asset LSP models that are going to evolve. So am I able to handle complex constraints through my platform? That's your second pillar. The third pillar is, now that is where you start getting artificial intelligence and machine learning into the whole game. Can I actually get intelligence even into a basic form of data entry? Can my intelligence detect anomalies before they occur? Can I do predictions and set up my systems to benchmark automatically? And can my system design itself based on the data and learning that's built in? Now, this is the future. This is where if you do not have a platform which is automated, the operations, optimization, intelligence don't happen. If the whole effort is to bolt on some specific solutions around intelligence and optimization, around your legacy systems, all you're going to get is a sub-optimized output. And the fourth pillar is the experience. How do I actually make people work on a platform where people don't have to log in? How do I reduce my touches? How do I push information to people? How do I make my interaction more flexible? And that is where concepts of zero UI start coming into play. And this has to be seen as a journey. Depending on your maturity, people's readiness, and culture, you may pick up some of these things parallelly or take it step by step. Now, you would like to know, where do we stand? As a logistics company, where do we stand? Is digitalization measurable? Yes, it is measurable. And we have built a DigiFit index for logistics companies, which broadly works as follows around the 4 pillars. If you automate and do these 4 aspects that I spoke about, you can mark yourself with a certain amount of points. So automation is just going to take you to about 10-15% of your digital journey. The next is, if you optimize, you're nearly at about 40% of the journey. And if you now build an intelligence into your platform, is where you actually make a big leap. And you are now literally at 75-80% of your journey in digitalization. And if you can improve the experience for yourself and your customers, that's the cherry on the cake. And it actually takes you to near 100% of your journey. So while you are viewing what you're viewing, you can mentally actually assess yourself and where do you stand in your digital journey. Logistics companies that do not cross the benchmark of 70 DigiFit index will find it difficult to survive. They will either not exist or they'll become commodity providers driven by large logistics companies or niche logistics companies who would use them as commodity services. The margins would get lower and it will be difficult to then survive in the competitive environment. Now, we've been talking of this concept of a platform. Let's visualize it on what it means in the real world. So the platform is that integrated solution. Now, how does the platform play out in the future in the digital world? So what happens is, in the logistics world, there are 6 key stakeholders, which are the customer, the planners who are planning things out, designing things out, the executors, very important, the picker, packers, loaders, handlers, drivers, your partners, because you're going to depend a lot on your partners who are going to help you deliver your services, the commercial guys, the financial guys who handle the complete business, and of course, the strategic guys, the owners who are investing money into it. Now, all these 6 stakeholders need to access the system. Now, what the change that is going to come with a platform-based model is that all these people just need their piece of the cake to be able to operate. They will not access the platform. Each one would have digital tools, like a customer would work on a mobile or bots or voice. Our planners would work on more of an analytics, blockchains, and artificial intelligence. The executors can actually do a lot of things on the mobile, scanning machine, robotics, voice execution, IoTs would come into play. The ecosystem partners would have to connect to your system through portals on mobile phones or voice or bots. Your financial guys who run the commercial side of the organization, the financial side, would need a lot of analytics to take decisions and be able to handle any exceptions, which can be done through mobiles or bots. And strategic investors would want to see data to be able to take strategic decisions, and also be able on their mobile, on the fly, to be able to see on how the business is performing. Now, this is what the future is going to look like. You can visualize your own company and start planning on how you're going to build this across, so that you can meet the future challenges that are going to come for a logistics service provider. Now, while I have done all the talking on what needs to be done, let us see some of this in action. Now, here is a case where you have a customer wanting to place a transportation request, where he's expected to fill in his details, the services he wants, what he wants to ship, when he wants to ship it. Now, but what happens is there are limitations. Firstly, he is to log in, make all these entries into specific fields, but he may have a lot of other nuances in the whole business, which static screens can't take care of. So what he does is he gets into a chat and then says, okay, let me now see whether I can make this whole thing more flexible. So he's getting into a chat, and you will find how an intelligent system is now guiding him. Now, these questions that are coming up are not static questions. What the system does is it starts the whole process and then sees, based on the answers that he's getting, actually intelligently gets into asking the next questions. So it's much more flexible, and it then meets your requirements. Otherwise, what would happen is you would create multiple screens, multiple logins, multiple data entry. So this is where the concept of zero UIs are coming into play. Now, while out here, you will find that the person is entering his address or giving his reference numbers. And if the person is regularly working with you, all this will also start getting automated. So you can make the whole process very interactive and very intelligent in interacting with the whole thing. Now, what is this chatbot working on? So it is working, you can connect it to different platforms. You could connect it to any of your chat platforms, you could connect it to Facebook, you could connect it to Viber or any other platforms that you use. And you would find that every answer that you give, the system is asking you more questions. And if there is a question that is not meant for you, if you just say skip, it keeps that intelligence in itself, so that next time when you come, it is not going to repeat the question itself unless there's a context given to the whole thing. You could be sending in hazardous goods, so it can actually get you into details of that, because that's what you want. You want some specialized services which limited screens and fields in a screen may not allow you to do. Now, this provides you huge flexibility. Now, that's one example. Let's go ahead. You've done the booking, now you want to track and trace it. So what would you do in a track and trace normally? You normally get to a website, put in your consignment number, and then it will tell you some statuses. And then if you want some changes, you start calling people. Can I make it more intelligent and make it more easier for interaction? So here is somebody saying, I want to know the status of a packet. Now whether you use the word packet or consignment or pallet or parcel or order, it is sensible enough to understand. Now here is a case where he wants to change his delivery schedule. That's the flexibility that I spoke about. And this is now working on Facebook Messenger. He's asking it to be rescheduled. Now he's asking, when do you want it? So, he's going to give a certain date or time or whatever the customer wants. And the system is going to check out, is it possible? Is the capacity there? Or can I generate the capacity in time to be able to service this order? And it says, okay, I've rescheduled it. You're going to get it at so and so time now. So this is how you can make the future much more adaptable and easy for your customers. Let's dive a little more deeper into seeing some of these solutions. Now, this is a typical screen where you would capture all your data for an order. Where you would say, I am a customer. I want a normal service. I want to ship from this place to this place, and that's the load that I want to book it. Now, this would entail about 12, 13 data entries. The data could come to an Excel or a mail or a call if there's no integration done. So there's somebody who's keying in this 13, 14 pieces of data. So let's see what now basic intelligence, basic AI/ML can do. The customers just selects and identify themselves. I am so and so customer. The moment he's identified himself, the AI/ML engines kick in and auto create the order. It's auto created the order based in more and more intelligence, and that is where the platform helps. The platform has data. The more data is there in an integrated form, the more automation. So instead of 18 fields, they have just to enter 2 fields and the order is made. Can I make it even easier than this? Of course I can, and let me show you how this can become even more intelligent. Now what you're seeing on the screen now is a mailbox of your customer. So the customer is now going to talk to the AI/ML engine, which is Chia. That's our AI/ML engine, Chia Ramco. And all that he's telling the AI/ML engine is load is ready for pickup at 5:30 p.m. That's all that he's telling. He's not even trying to make an order. And he's sending it through his mailbox. And see what happens. Chia has gone and made an order just on saying that the load is ready. Because it's dealt with it, the customer has a right to change anything. He may enter the quantity for the day, and boom, he's now confirmed it. He wants to have a second look at it and says, okay, I'm happy with this. Let me submit. And the order goes through. Now, see the beauty of the whole thing. It's so simple. The second thing is, you don't have to get into large-scale integration with your customers. Day-to-day operations can use these kind of intelligent tools to literally not just eliminate data entry, but make it frictionless and with intelligence and a high level of accuracy. The order is now done in, and you can now start planning it and start executing it. Let's move to the next tool. The logistics world is very complex in terms of how it charges its customers. It's a very complex world. And I could have different models of identifying how I want to charge my customer. So we call it tariff types. So he says, okay, I'm running a transportation or warehousing business. I want to know what best way do I charge my customer. Should I base it on a booking or a consignment? Should I base it on weight? So he just puts some keywords. And what the system is going to do is, it's going to guide you and look at different options. And tell you, listen, it's searching out and it's going to throw up Okay, these are your 5, 6, 10 options that are available. Now, you could actually say, I think this is the best option, or you could go ahead and ask for it and say, okay, show me what this option looks like and what it's going to, how it's going to play out. So he's going to actually explain the option, and you could even have, using this chat, an intelligent conversation with your customer. That this is how I'm going to charge you, and you can get specific numbers out of this to say which is the best option where your customer doesn't pay more, and also that you are making your revenues and profit that you need from your business. Similarly, in the world of warehousing, storage is a major part of your charges. There are different ways that you can actually charge up storage. So you may say, okay, for my storage in the warehouse, I can do buy, sell both. That is very important in a flexible system. And I may say, okay, let me look at what are my storage options of charging people. So I can submit it, and the bots is going to come and tell me, okay, there's so many options that I have. You can actually then chat further to make it more intelligent and narrow it down to your specific needs, or get into details of each solution to understand on how these charges are handled, so that you make it totally transparent while dealing with your customers or your suppliers. So this is where intelligence can be brought into day-to-day life for a logistics service provider. Let's look at a few more tools. Now, one of the challenges that logistics companies face is they actually provide services which make up pennies, which combine up to make up dollars. Now, anytime that you have leakages in not being able to charge for a service, charge for activity, millions of activities you're doing, and charging them correctly. Now, you may actually be delivering 50,000 parcels a day and having document charges, fuel charges, accessory charges, document charges, and you may actually land up making the lines for billing in a day to nearly 250,000 lines. Is it humanly possible for anybody to validate? And that is why artificial intelligence and machine learning and digitalization can make this more intelligent and accurate for you. So you can say, okay, show me the invoice lines where you think I have a doubt. Where, so that's amber. So it's going to pull out, these are the invoice lines where I think these are amber. Or these are perfect, and you can go and invoice them. So I'm not wasting time going through these multiple billing lines, and I'm saving that productivity and also avoiding leakages. And here is a red flag where I find a major change. And you can say, okay, now you can automate this further. For the ease of understanding that I'm showing you like this, you can do direct invoicing for the green, you can do auto corrections out for amber, and ensure that you are able to avoid all leakages. So you can see the system is also going to propose a value to you and saying what is the right value that you should be charging. You can drill it down to the level that you want and see that, this is the proposed value and this is the accepted value that I want to move ahead. The system is intelligent enough for you to be not losing any revenue on count of any errors that may come up through those millions of transactions that are happening. Revenue leakages would literally account for 2 to 3% of a logistics company's revenue, which would hit their EBITDA directly. Now, the most interesting part is getting more and more intelligence. Now, planning in a logistics company of sending out a vehicle to distribute the stuff across to the customers is a complex exercise. There are too many parameters involved in ensuring that you're making the right decisions and optimizing things. It's a dynamic world. So what happens is you make a set of rules. You decide some parameters and set that, my optimization is to be done by these rules. This is how I want to operate my optimization. You can have many rules that you can combine together through the optimization tools, and we'll dive a little deeper. So there are so many rules, a customer specific rules, the loading time, what is the percentage of load utilization that I want, what should be the average speed of a vehicle, what is the waiting time that I have at each point. I can have different combination of rules. Now, what we are missing out here is while you can have heavy and very intelligent engines that can actually set up all these rules, the point is who is setting up these rules? It is people who are setting up the rules, and people have biases. The biases of my current pressures, my biases of my own experience, my biases of how well do I know the organization, my biases of what my needs of my customer are. And each of those biases impact the rule setting. That rule setting may not be the ideal rule setting for your customer or for your company to be more profitable. So what does artificial intelligence do for you in the future? It actually enables the system to suggest the rules. You could actually be changing the rules through artificial intelligence every hour, whereas manually configurable rules on how optimization engines work today, these rules remain static for a period of time till you face a situation and you want to change it. Now, what we did was we actually picked up, a live customer data over a period of few months and analyzed it. And this is what we saw, that how AI engines pull out data. So you get a load, which is your confirmed bookings. A planner now comes into play. He first selects which are the orders that he wants to plan. He then selects all the rules or preset rules that he invites those rules. He then needs to select a vehicle, a trailer, a driver, and then plan a trip. Now, when he plans a trip, he confirms the trip and says, do I like the output? Do I not like the output? Am I happy with it? If not, he'll replan it or make corrections. Now, as I mentioned, all these rules are selected based on human judgment. Now look at the number of instances that happened just over a quarter for a customer of ours, and see what happened when they changed over to a digital platform using AI/ML. These are the number of instances where they either changed rules or made some changes to the plans, and all done through human intuition, not driven by data. And this is the amount of intervention that is there. And at every point of time, there is time that is spent. And you are not even sure that when you're spending the time, that you are making the right decisions. Well, when do you know your decision is right or wrong? It's only when you sit down, go through certain analytics, that you know whether you've taken the right decision or the wrong decision. Now imagine this is taking them nearly about, for every planning run, to 4,000 seconds to about 13,000 seconds for the planner to run this, with not that high level of assurance that what he's doing is right. Ex post facto, he'll come to know that things did not work out or they worked. So is there an element of luck in it? Now let's see what happens when you get in future digital technologies into the whole thing. He gets a booking. He then decides what I want to service. The AI engine comes into play and does data mining of the historic data and looks at what are the best combination of rules that I need to apply. The system automatically modifies the plan and the rules. It does give you a warning, because human beings should have the right to overrule it. So I'm making these changes. Are you okay with it? You're okay or not okay allows the engine to learn more. The trip is planned and then it goes away. There could be a few cases he may need to go in for replan. And look at the impact that it has made in terms of time. 34 seconds instead of 4,000 seconds, and 116 seconds instead of 13,000 seconds. That's the impact it has made. Your parameters of on-time delivery, in full delivery, utilization, and margins improve that much more. Now, summarizing the whole thing, I would say get your P's right now, right, to gain a competitive edge. Get the right people who can enable you with the transformation, get the right platform, and most importantly, get the right partner who can enable you in this transformation and give you the competitive edge to survive for the future. So that's my 2 bits for the day. If you want to know more details, do contact us at contact@ramco.com or visit our website and look at our offerings. I would now hand over to Dave to take it further from here. And thank you everyone for your patience and time.
Thank you, Naval, for taking the time today to discuss how important it is that logistics service providers embrace technology to address these present-day challenges, and how Ramco ERP's innovative solutions can help. I'm sure our viewers can see that this is the kind of technology that isn't just future-oriented, it's also now-oriented, and this is what's required for organizations to stay viable. Your presentation was very informative, and I'm sure that our viewers will have found it quite helpful. As we come to the conclusion of today's webinar with Ramco ERP, I'd like to thank all of our viewers. And as mentioned at the onset, remind you that Panorama is providing 1 free hour of consulting with our digital transformation experts. To qualify, be one of the first 3 to visit our website at www.panorama-consulting.com. Go to the Contact Us page and enter the code FREEHOUR in the How We Can Help section. For additional inquiries, also please feel free to contact Alan Salton, the Director of Innovation and Business Development at Panorama. On behalf of the entire Panorama Consulting Group and Ramco ERP, I'm Dave Carey, and thank you for your time today.